Hello, my name is Matthias and welcome to the FPL scope and my team selection video for Game Week 17. But as always, before we go into my plans for Game Week 17, we got to take a look back at what happened in Game Week 16, and we're also going to go check on the Manager of the Week this week in the FPL Scope Mini League, which you can join with the league code V9JT0D. And we're also going to check out my free hit team for Game Week 16, how that did compared to my own squad in Game Week 16, and also take a look forward to Game Week 17 and have my free hit draft for that week as well, because yeah, I think free hit drafts are just fun, even though I kind of suck at them, which we'll see. But either way, let's go into what happened in Game Week 16, and it was a pretty low scoring game week in general for most people. And for my team, I only had 3 players get some point returns, and those 3 players were Salah, who was my vice captain, who became my captain because Haaland didn't play, and we're going to get to talk a lot about Haaland injuries and injury news and stuff later on in this video. Salah became the vice captain with 13 points. That was absolutely fantastic. He was the second highest scoring player in my team, without captaincy that is, because Heung-min Son actually had 2 goals and 1 assist, got 17 points for Spurs, which is amazing. And Destiny Udogie as well chipped in with a goal against Newcastle. He had ended up with 9 points. It could have been even more because he had the clean sheet up until the final minute of the game as well. So yeah, but I'm not complaining. 9 points from Udogie, really, really good, even more than what Pedro Porro did, which is fantastic for me, who had Udogie and haven't jumped on Pedro Porro for that reason. So pretty happy about that in general. Obviously, Dubravka didn't keep a clean sheet against Spurs because they conceded quite a few goals. He's not looking like the best option anymore, but I'm still kind of happy with him, at least for the past or the next few game weeks, because I do have a wildcard in Game Week 20 that I can use, where I'll most likely have Dubravka as his second goalkeeper, at least like a rotational goalkeeper with someone else, because I don't really trust him as the starting goalkeeper for the foreseeable future. But for now, I think Dubravka is doing pretty well. Chimikas with 2 points. Kind of disappointing to see Liverpool concede every single game, and Chimikas didn't provide any attacking returns either, but I still think he is pretty nailed in the squad. He's not starting now in the Europa League. I'm recording this right before the Liverpool game on Thursday in the Europa League, and he's not starting, and Darwin is not starting either. So, and basically Liverpool are playing like a backup starting 11 with Cody Gakpo up front. So that bodes well for both Darwin and Chimikas' minutes, even though Joe Gomez is also benched, so maybe Joe Gomez gets preferred against Man United, but I think, yeah, but we're getting into next game week, which we are not going to do in this segment. So, yeah, Udogie 9 points, I've talked about him already. Gabriel with 2 points, again, just conceding goals. Arsenal conceded against Aston Villa, which is not that surprising, but considering the match and how the match went, kind of annoying that they conceded. But at the same time, Aston Villa scored pretty early, and that sort of set the tone for the game as well. But either way, I got Matty Cash in as my substitute for Haaland, and that is not ideal because Cash came on as a substitute himself in the Aston Villa game, only got 1 point, and my patience with Cash is kind of running thin. I know most people are selling him, and I'm still like slightly holding out hope for Game Week 18 if that is going to be playing against Sheffield United at home, but yeah, we're going to discuss that as well in the Game Week 17 portion of this video. Salah vice captain I already talked about, Son I already talked about, Saka with a blank, 2 points. Pretty uncommon from him, but that happens, I guess, with Saka as well. He's been pretty lucky to get some returns the last few weeks, so I'm not surprised he didn't get a point return this time. Hwang Hee-chan, my only transfer this week, and Mbeumo out, and I managed to go, or I decided to go with Hwang Hee-chan or Hee-chan Wang, and he ended up blanking like most people's Mbeumo replacements. The only ones that did score were like Tavernier, who's like a slightly interesting pick as well. I didn't pick him because of rotation issues potentially, because he was benched last game, but apparently Tavernier is pretty nailed on in the team, so that looked like a transfer that I probably should have done, especially seeing as I might not get Solanke now going forward, but we'll get to that pretty soon. Cole Palmer with 1 point. Chelsea just continue to disappoint, but yeah, I don't really lose out hope for Palmer because he has such easy matches and he's at such a nice price and he's on penalties, so I can deal with the 1 pointer. The person that I'm the most annoyed by with my team is Darwin Núñez, because I brought him in for Alvarez a couple game weeks ago when it looked like Alvarez was going to be benched, but then apparently the news were wrong, and Alvarez actually started against Liverpool, where I bought in Darwin for that game, and the next few game weeks where Darwin had easy matches, but Darwin has just blanked, and Alvarez has had 2 returns in a row now, I think, 2 assists, 2 5-pointers, which is not too much, but Alvarez might be starting next week, or this upcoming game week 17, if Haaland is still injured, which is looking quite likely, I think. But yeah, Haaland ended up on my bench. Also pretty happy to see Matt Turner back in goal for Nottingham Forest. He ended up with 3 points on my bench, which is more than Dubravka, but I couldn't really see that coming, so I prefer Dubravka anyway because Newcastle are just a better team than Nottingham Forest. Then we have Archer, who continues to blank every single game week, and then Kabore, who couldn't play against this Man City parent club. He can't play against the team he's loaned out from, so yeah, he obviously blanked as well. Either way, I ended up with 66 points in total, which is really good for me. Another green arrow for me, or not really. I haven't had that many green arrows lately, but I've had like smaller red arrows, so I'm actually higher up in the standings now than I was a couple of game weeks ago. So pretty happy being inside the top 200k, 193k in total. I still have all my chips left, including my wildcard, which I'm really excited about for Game Week 20. If you want to see my plans for the wildcard, then you can check out the video earlier in this week where I talked extensively about my plans for Game Week 17, 18, 19, and then the wildcard in Game Week 20. But yeah, I'm now 49 points behind the top 10k, which is always my goal to reach in FPL. Being inside the top 10k, it's getting harder and harder each season, but it's always going to be my goal. And I'm currently on 956 points, which I'm pretty happy about. I'm pretty close. I'm going to break the 1,000 point barrier now, hopefully, this upcoming game week. If I don't, I'm going to be pretty sad. But yeah, speaking of next game week, let's go forward and look into the future and what my plans are for Game Week 17. So yeah, pretty much got a couple of things that I can do. One of them being selling Erling Braut Haaland, which is something that I'm pretty confident about doing. It just depends on the team news. Like if we get news that he is actually going to be in the squad and he's like in contention to start, or like most likely will start, or even if he gets confirmed to be starter, I'm not going to sell him obviously because he's playing Crystal Palace at home. So I'm going to keep him if that's the case. And if that's the case, I'll probably just do a defensive transfer because I have a decent defense for this week. Tsimikas against Man United at home, Gabriel against Brighton at home, and Udogie against Nottingham Forest away. And like I'm not expecting clean sheets from Tsimikas or Gabriel, maybe from Udogie. But at the same time, I wouldn't be too surprised if it happened because Arsenal are just a much better team than Brighton at the moment, and Liverpool even more so compared to Liverpool compared to Man United are just a much better team. So I'm pretty happy with Tsimikas starting. I would probably bench Gabriel if I do the move of Issa Kabore to Pedro Porro. I would probably bench Gabriel Magalhaes against Brighton to play Porro and Udogie against Nottingham Forest. But yeah, so those are my defenders, and that is probably my transfer if Haaland is actually indeed fit to play. I think I would just hold off with the transfer for next week, potentially. My goalkeeper is Dubravka against Fulham at home. He is back playing. He played in the Champions League, so he's going to be fine to play. And I think that's a much better fixture than Turner's fixture against Tottenham at home. So I think Dubravka is just an easy choice in goal. When it comes to midfield, I have Salah as captain. I probably would have Salah captain even if it is confirmed that Haaland is starting, because I think Man United at home has just proven to be one of the better fixtures for Salah each year. So yeah, I think he's just the best captain's option, full stop, this game week. And Son, I have him as vice captain. He's just been proving himself every single week lately that he's a really good player. He played on the left last time around against Newcastle, played really well there as well, took a penalty, confirmed that he's the penalty taker, so I really like Son as well. Saka against Brighton at home, really good fixture for scoring goals. I assume that, or I expect Arsenal to score 2-3 goals plus in that game, so I think Saka could be amongst those goals. Really like him there. Hee-chan Wang against West Ham away, pretty decent fixture. I know as a West Ham fan that we can see it every single game, especially now that Areola has been out. It's even easier to score on Fabianski because he's a worse goalkeeper than Areola. Areola might be back for this game as well, though, so you don't really know. He's back in training, apparently, so I assume Areola will be back in goal. But either way, West Ham have conceded quite a few goals this season, and I think Hwang can score there as well, even though I'm obviously not hoping for that as a West Ham fan. But as an FPL owner, at least I'd be more happy with Hwang scoring than someone like Matheus Cunha, like what happened last week. Dan Palmer against Sheffield United at home. I spoke about these easy fixtures. Sheffield United at home is a fantastic fixture for Chelsea, and currently I think Cole Palmer is like the only player that I trust from Chelsea, because defensively they haven't looked that good. Offensively they've looked a lot better. They've actually created a lot of chances, but I don't really trust anyone. Maybe Sterling, because he got rested last time. Maybe he's a good differential shout in that game. If you have him, at least you should start him. But I think Palmer on penalties, he's going to be pretty integral to what Chelsea do offensively. And Nkunku might be in the squad, might not be in the squad. He's also someone that I would consider if he was fully fit, but he is not fully fit, so I don't really consider him. But Cole Palmer is a great option against Sheffield United at home. I'm really happy about that. And then up front, currently we have Haaland. If he plays against Crystal Palace, he's going to start, obviously. But if Haaland is out, I'm going to sell him either for Watkins or Solanke, and most likely it's going to be Watkins. I do like Solanke quite a lot. I think Solanke is going to be a fantastic asset going forward. I do prefer Solanke over Darwin as well, but I don't prefer him enough to make like a hit to get Solanke in for Darwin. And I think there are other moves that I need to do rather than selling Darwin at this moment, because I think Darwin is going to start for Liverpool for the next few game weeks as well, and they're playing Man United at home, which is usually a pretty good fixture for them, and they also play against Burnley away in Game Week 19. So I think there are two pretty good fixtures for Darwin. I think I can just keep him, and hopefully he'll return on my investment on him finally, and hopefully a lot of people will sell him by that time as well, because other people might be in a more dire situation than me. But yeah, I think I'm going to keep Darwin for now, especially against the Man United at home fixture, especially seeing as he's not playing in the Europa League as well now from start, unless he gets injured in that game, because that could happen while I'm recording this. Unless something happens with him or anyone else, these are probably my plans. If Haaland is out, I'd ship him out for Watkins. Even if there are doubts about Haaland being in the squad or not, I'm probably going to sell him because I can bring him back in the Game Week 20 wildcard that I have pretty easily. I'm not too scared about Haaland against Everton away in Game Week 19. I think that's like not the worst fixture, but at the same time, it's a pretty difficult fixture currently because Everton are pretty good defensively, and they have some defenders that can deal with Haaland pretty well. So yeah, I'm pretty happy about selling Haaland and getting him back for Game Week 20. But obviously, if he starts against Crystal Palace at home, if we get that confirmed, I'm going to keep him, and I'm going to do the defensive transfer of Kabore to Pedro Porro. So those are basically my plans. My bench, I have Archer against Chelsea away, which is not the worst fixture. As I just said, Chelsea conceded a lot of goals, and Sheffield United actually look quite a bit better now with the new manager, Chris Wilder, coming back to Sheffield United as the manager. Manaager on the bench against Brentford away. I would probably play him over Gabriel if I got news that he is starting the game, cash, but I don't think we're going to get confirmation about that before the game week, so he's probably just going to be on the bench. And then Kabore against Bournemouth away, which is still a tough fixture. And like I said, I could bring in Pedro Porro for Kabore. I also got to figure out if I have enough money to do that. But either way, I think I'm going to sell. Whether Haaland is fit to play now or not, I'm probably going to sell Haaland for Watkins in Game Week 18 anyway, because like I said, I'm not too worried about that Game Week 19 fixture, and I do have the wild card to bring him in for Game Week 20, even without dropping Salah, which is going to be interesting as well. I might actually keep Salah for Game Week 20, which is where a lot of people will sell him because he plays Newcastle, and most people want to bring Haaland back in. So yeah, but those are some interesting discussions for future game weeks that I'm not going to get too much into in this game week. But yeah, those are basically my plans for Game Week 17. Now we can move on to the Manager of the Week and what I think the Manager of the Week in the FPL Scope Media League should do for next week as well. So the Manager of the Week is Leonard Kasiandima, who is from Zimbabwe, which is really cool to see. I like the fact that I have a lot of viewers from all across the globe, so it's really nice to see. And he's also 33k in the world, which is amazing. So this team is doing really well. And this week, 73 points, a massive score. Pretty happy with that, should be at least. Adingra coming in as a sub for Haaland is what made a major difference, and that is basically why you sort of need to have a good bench. Adingra has been like a decent player the last few weeks. He's been scoring every so often for Brighton. He's been a better asset than Mitoma. And I remember back in Game 12, 13, when I bought in Mitoma myself, I did think about Adingra, but he was just not as nailed as Mitoma at that point, and I thought Adingra would be not as good, but Adingra has actually been a better asset regardless of price as well. So yeah, 10 points from him. Otherwise, it's not that many returns. It's just Son with 17 points, Salah with 26 points, and Cunha with 9 points. Cunha, who got the goal and scored for Wolverhampton. It's actually a double up with both Cunha and Wang Hee-chan for this manager, which is kind of interesting to see because you don't really see many people do that. But yeah, 33k overall. Also got Turner in for Areola. Really nice there. Didn't have to do a goalkeeper transfer, even though it looked like both Turner and Areola would miss out because Turner actually was in the starting lineup again. So 3 more points from that also helped in terms of the total of 73 points. So in general, I think it's a good team. Wildcard in Game Week 10, which is quite a while ago now, and it's still looking really good, this team. There's not that many issues going forward. It is the question of Haaland, what you do with him, but yeah, let's just go take a look at what happens in the next game week, because this game week, not really too much to talk about. I've already mentioned Salah and Son being good assets, and I mentioned Adingra now as well, being a pretty interesting player, but he's obviously going to go to AFCON as well. I think that's another thing with this team that is kind of an issue going forward. The fact that Salah, Son, Adingra, and Hee-chan Wang are all going to leave for either African Cup of Nations or the Asian Cup pretty soon. So that's maybe somewhere you have to look at getting replacements, because that is in Game Week 21. So it's not too many game weeks away from now that you need to basically swap out quite a bit of your team already. So yeah, that's one of the issues with the team. But for this game week, it worked out perfectly with 73 points. not the highest score in terms of being the manager of the week, but at the same time, it was a really low-scoring week, and not that many popular players scored a lot of points. So having the likes of Adingra and Cunha is a huge bonus in this regard. So yeah, let's move on to look at the GW17 plans for this manager. And obviously, I haven't discussed this with Leonard himself because I haven't been able to contact him. I haven't tried to contact him, to be fair, but these are just my suggestions for what Leonard should do for this upcoming game week. So there are two options here. I think with this team, it's the fact that they don't really need to sell Haaland. Like, they have a pretty good squad in general. Maybe if Haaland is confirmed to be out, you just do the Haaland to Solanke move, or because obviously this team already has Watkins. You can just do the Haaland to Solanke move, but just the fact that this team already has Watkins and there are some issues defensively. You can see Mark Gahey starting against Man City away in the starting lineup with Taylor and Trippier both suspended on the bench. Dealing with the defense in this team is probably more important than it is for example, my team, where Haaland is sort of like a guy that I could rather get rid of rather than having the defensive issues, because I have a Dogi in that place. And yeah, Leonard could do the Guehi to Pedro Porro move instead. I think that is something that this manager should do. You have the money in the bank to do that. And yeah, it makes all the sense in the world to get Pedro Porro now for the easy matches for Spurs. He's just looking amazing, especially with Maddison gone and Pedro Porro being on all set pieces, getting 2 corner assists the last 4 game weeks as well. He just looks like a no-brainer pick at the moment, and anyone that doesn't have a Dogi like me should probably look at to bring him in. And I might bring him in myself as well at some point as like a double Spurs defense, because I think Porro is looking amazing, and yeah, he's going to punish me if I go without him for too long, I think. By the way, I think in goal, you gotta just go with Areola against Wolverhampton at home. Turner against Spurs, I do sort of expect Son to score, but at the same time, you're also playing Areola against Hwang or Cunha, so you can't really win either way. So maybe you should just play Turner and hope for, I don't know. It's impossible in these sorts of weeks where you have 2 goalkeepers and both of them are playing against your attacking players. You sort of just have to pick one goalkeeper and just hope for the best, I guess. Maybe hope for a penalty save. But either way, that would be a penalty taker either from Wolves or from Spurs missing. So yeah, it's really hard thing to do with that sort of fixture. The one sort of weak link in this team, I guess, apart from maybe having double Wolves, which is kind of, I mean, a bit overkill, I guess, even against West Ham. I don't think they're both going to score a massive amount of points. But apart from that, I think the weak link offensively is probably Adingra, who plays Arsenal away. And obviously, if Haaland starts, that's easy. Just swap in Haaland and have him starting over Adingra. Pretty easy stuff. But if not, I think Adingra is still a decent pick. It is Arsenal, and they do concede a rare goal, like a stupid goal each game, it seems like. So Adingra isn't the worst option, and yeah, I think he's like not the best, but it's at the same time, sometimes those players really pop off and get points as well. So yeah, I think he's a decent player as well. Other than that, the team is pretty similar to mine, I guess, with Areola, or not Areola, I don't have Areola, but Chimikas, Gabriel, Salah, Son, Palmer, Hwang, Watkins potentially, that I might have. So pretty similar starting team compared to me, but at the same time, you also have the issues with the suspension with Taylor and Trippier, like I mentioned. Makes the defense look really weak in general. Not that many standout defenders. So I think just the defensive transfer is the way to go in this instance. But like I said earlier as well, with Son, Salah, Adingra, and Hwang all leaving for Asian Cup or African Cup of Nations, you sort of have to sort out that as well. So maybe selling Hwang might be the best option as well. Or potentially Adingra, because yeah, you can sell Adingra, who has that tougher fixture. So selling either one of those guys could also be an option. And getting someone like, maybe you want to punt on Sterling against Sheffield United, or maybe you want to go with someone a bit more normal, I guess, like Arsenal midfielder. I don't know if you can afford, probably not afford Saka especially, but maybe you can afford Ødegaard, who I think is a really good option. I had him in my weekly wildcard draft this week. Maybe you can go Adingra to Ødegaard. Otherwise, you could go with someone like Jared Bowen, for example. He could be a good option as well. There are some interesting options there in midfield. Also, Anthony Gordon, if he's fully fit, but it seems like he's slightly having an issue now. So yeah, there are some options you can go with the midfield. Maybe even Tavernier as well, who is a really nice option compared to Solanke as well. But in general, I think if Haaland is out, you could obviously do that Haaland move, Haaland to Solanke. It will be harder to navigate though, getting Haaland back. The most likely way to get Haaland back, if you sell Haaland now, is probably to sell Salah in Game Week 20, because you need Haaland back for Game Week 20 when he plays Sheffield United at home. But that would probably mean selling Salah in that game week where he plays Newcastle at home, which isn't the worst, but at the same time, Salah has proven that he can score against anyone in the past, and also at Anfield, Newcastle aren't that good away from home, and Newcastle are looking pretty tired, so I think I kind of leaning now towards more keeping Salah in Game Week 20 when I'm doing my wildcard, but most of you guys don't have a wildcard left, so I don't know. It's a bit of a risk if you're selling Haaland. I guess it's more of a risk than for me. So I'm pretty lucky in that regard. But yeah, I think, like I've said a couple of times now, first and foremost, you got to sort out the defense. Secondly, you got to sort out the Asian Cup, African Cup of Nations sort of issue you have with 4 players there leaving for international tournaments. And then finally, maybe the attackers. But you already have Watkins, so you have the main player to have in Game Week 18 against Sheffield United at home for Watkins there, when he's like the most popular captaincy choice that week. So some advantages, some disadvantages with this team, but I think it's a good team going forward into the future. And 33k overall, got to be really happy with that in general. So yeah, pretty good team in general. Let's move on to something that I've done for the past 6 or 7 game weeks now, and that's try to make the best free hit drafts possible, and I always seem to fail, and this week is let's just say not that good either. So yeah, this is my free hit draft for Game Week 16, and it ended up getting 49 points. Mostly that was because Salah got 26 points as the vice captain, as was the case for most people's teams. Other than that though, didn't have Heung-min Son, didn't get those 17 points, didn't have a Spurs defender either against Newcastle, didn't expect them to get that many points in that game. So not the best result, but in terms of the favourite differentials, it actually worked out decently well. Alvarez got 5 points, got an assist, and that was it, 5 points. And Trent Alexander-Arnold in defense didn't even get an assist or a goal or a clean sheet, but he still got 2 bonus points, which tells you something about Trent Alexander-Arnold and his current role in midfield as well, like being an inverted midfielder. He's sort of taken pretty well to that role, and I think Trent Alexander-Arnold is a really interesting option going forward, and I think that's why I'm so tempted to sell Haaland, because that would make me have enough money to get someone like Trent or potentially even both Trent and Trippier for Game Week 19, where they both have decent fixtures. So yeah, I think he's a pretty interesting player going forward. But yeah, in general, this free hit draft was pretty not so good. I mean, it was all right in a week where it was a low-scoring week. 49 points isn't the worst, but still can do a lot better. Again, it was less points than my actual team, which is in some ways encouraging because I do have a pretty good team on my own. But it's also discouraging that I'm still pretty bad at choosing the best team for this upcoming game week. But I don't know. I'm trying to pick against Sheffield United attack and trying to pick players that play them, but it doesn't seem to work out this time either. So yeah. But let's move on to the next game week and take a look at my free hit draft for Game Week 17 and what I think is the best squad to have in this upcoming game week. And yes, I've gone with some pretty popular transfer options, both offensively and defensively. In defense, Pedro Porro, as mentioned, he is my favorite differential in defense. I think he's just looking really good currently, and Nottingham Forest are currently looking really bad. So I think that's going to be a really good fixture for Spurs, and that's why I've doubled up with the Spurs defense against Nottingham Forest away. I've also, like I said, tried to target Sheffield United when Chelsea played them at home. Chelsea are pretty weak defensively though, so I'm kind of not too happy about having double Chelsea defense either. Maybe you can go with someone else rather than Colwill. Colwill is on his own right not entirely nailed either. He seems like the most nailed, or at least second most nailed compared to Thiago Silva, defender for Chelsea. Sanchez is most likely going to play. He should actually be yellow flagged because he is a slight doubt, but I think he's going to be fine to play. So yeah, double up on Chelsea defense, double up on Spurs defense. Spurs defense mostly for attacking numbers, and Chelsea defense mostly because they are playing Sheffield United, and hopefully they get a clean sheet for this free hit team. As captain, Salah, like I mentioned, I think he's the best captain's option. So let's just go easy with him. Heung-min Son as well, fantastic option. I don't want to leave him out of my free hit drafts anymore. Seeing that 17-pointer against Newcastle, he can score against anyone. He is just a fantastic option each and every week. So I think either week that I would use the free hit, if I would use it myself. I'm currently not using it, obviously, and I'm not planning on using it anytime soon. But if I use my free hit draft in any of these upcoming game weeks, I think Son is going to be in it regardless, because he just can score against anyone. Like he's shown out against both Newcastle and Man City in the last few weeks. He can score in any game potentially. Then we have Abdoulaye Doucouré, who is another player who's going to leave for African Cup of Nations pretty soon, and he's also on 4 yellow cards, so he has a bit of a risk to buy as a long-term pick. But as a 1-week punt against Burnley away, I think he is fantastic. Doucouré has been really good this season. He has scored 6 goals so far already. Just a really good player in general. I've always been a huge fan of his, and now he's playing as a number 10 for Everton, and he's actually the best goal scorer for Everton as well, because Calvert-Lewin keeps missing big chances. So I really like Decore in this fixture. Palmer I already talked about against Sheffield United at home. Really like him. And then up front, we have Haaland for now. But if it is confirmed that Haaland is out, it's a pretty easy swap from Haaland to Alvarez. And you have obviously more than enough money in the bank for that. Maybe you can even upgrade a player or two. Maybe if you want to upgrade someone like Decore or Palmer. But I don't really see that many other players to go with. Maybe an Arsenal midfielder. Maybe you want to have someone like Saka, for example, against Brighton at home. Maybe double up with Saka and Ødegaard. That might be both of them might be really good. But in general, I think this team is pretty strong, even with a lot of money in the bank if you sell Haaland. Up front also have Watkins against Brentford away, but I think Solanke for this week in particular, I think over the next 3 game weeks, Watkins is going to be better than Solanke, but for this upcoming game week in particular, I think Solanke is going to be the better pick. So I think Solanke is my favorite differentials among the forwards, and then, like I said, Decore among the midfielders, I really like him as well. The bench is just pretty cheap with some pretty cheap and decent options. You have the Newcastle defenders, Dubravka, the goalkeeper, and Livramento, who's going to play right back against Fulham in this position. But yeah, I think those are pretty good players. You have Kluivert, who plays against Luton at home. He's a decent sub option if you have someone else not starting in the team. And then finally you have Kabore, just like a 4.0 defender basically that plays. It's not that many 4.0 defenders that played this week because both Taylor and Branthwaite are both out with suspensions. So Kabore gets the nod in the team right here. So that means that I have 7 out of these 15 players in my own team as well. The team value is 99.6, so you should be able to afford it even with Haaland, and especially without Haaland. If Haaland is out and you swap him out for Alvarez, that's going to be fine too. So yeah, pretty happy about this team, but I'm usually pretty happy about the free hit team, and then usually it ends up scoring less than my own team. So let's see if that's going to be the case once again. In this instance, I'm kind of hoping for it because I'm probably not going to have Solanke. I'm probably not going to have Pedro Porro. So I still think they are fantastic picks though. So I would never pick players that I don't think are going to perform well. I think Solanke and Pedro Porro are amazing picks, but I just think there are better picks for me and my transfer plans for the next few game weeks. But either way, that's a wrap for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed my team selection, my free hit draft, and also the manager of the week. And like I said, if you want to be the manager of the week, you can just join the FPL Scope Mini League, and you can be featured on the FPL Scope yourself if you score the highest amount of points in a single game week. And the league code for the FPL Scope Mini League is V9JT0D. And with that, I say thank you for watching the video. Please like and subscribe if you want. Share it with your friends, share it with your grandma or someone else. And I'll see you next time. Thank you and goodbye.